Hello everyone, SirMonkeySuit here, back again with My Hero Academia Season 5. We are on Episode 6, and in the last episode we began Match 2 of our matchups between Class 1A and Class 1B. That's probably going to span the length of the first half of the season, I'd imagine. That's kind of like how they do their arcs in half seasons anyway. And yeah, we have the teams of Tokiyami, Yayorozu, Hagakure, and Oyama for Class 1A. And then Class 1B is Kendo, Shihai, which is the sort of like the guy who can merge with darkness and everything like that. Shroom is what I'll probably call her for now, because someone did actually point out that, you know, when she was saying that, she was kind of talking in a third person. It's kind of like how she kind of just talks to herself. It's like one of her quirks, pun intended. So I'll call her Shroom for now, and the manga guy, who we've yet to see what he can actually do, which is going to be interesting to see what he can actually do. I wouldn't be surprised if we see that in this episode. But yeah, so 1A has a win under their belt already in Match 1. Match 2, I did talk about it in the last episode, but I just feel like this may be the match where Class 1B do get one back, because I can't see it being a shutout, and I also can't really see Bakugo or Todoroki getting a loss, considering that they are behind anyway, since they need to resit their do their exams and everything still. So that would surprise me if one of those teams did actually get a loss, and I feel like it's going to be unfair to 1B to get a shutout if 1A just completely steamrolls them. So I feel like this may be the one. However, Tokiyami got a bit of development with his quirk, and also like the bonding that he has with Hawks. I really liked last episode. The fact that they're both birds, and that if they can fly, they should fly. I just thought that was just like really like inspiring, just really really cool between those two. And whatnot. But yeah, I mean, Tokiyami, Shihai seem to have this sort of rivalry thing going on. Shihai's, because he is kind of going by this, this kind of scheming hero title, that he's actually playing along with that to gain an advantage, which is really smart. And yeah, and it seems as though there is also this rivalry between Yayorozu and Kendo, that these two sort of, Kendo's specifically a pillar for Class 1B. Yayorozu isn't, because the pillars of Class 1A is kind of more so Deku and Bakugo. But that rivalry between those two that have had some history during the sports festival and everything, and then going on to their sort of like work study to do like the commercials and everything like that. They talked about that last episode. But now they want to like kind of stick out and get away from that sort of image that people have of them, that's just what they're going to do, and that they want to be actual like true heroes and not just an image for the screen. So yeah, that's really cool. So yeah, I guess we'll see what happens in this upcoming episode and see who comes out on top. So yep, nothing else to really talk about, so we're going to get in episode 6, see what happens. As always, the reaction will be here on YouTube. But if for whatever reason it gets taken down for copyright in the future, I will re-upload this as a discussion only, and the link to the reaction will be in the description below. As always, the full-length reaction is in the description below as well, so if you don't want to watch my full reaction to this and not just the cut 10-minute version, then the offer is there for you. But yes, nothing else to really talk about, so we're going to get in episode 6, see what we get. So without further ado, let's go. Foresight? Sir Night Eye here, is he back?
More? Not cool, not cool. You can empty my body.
Yeah, she's not going to be able to stay invisible with that. Oh my god.
That's it. Grow up strong. Let's make the world a stroomier, funkier place to be.
Kinoko Komori.
Jesus Christ.
Her name, Shimaji. She can release spores from her body and instantly grow mushrooms anywhere she wants. The more humidity in the air, the stronger she is.
Okay.
Look, they're growing over the camera. Gag.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of mushrooms either. Oh my god! He's literally become a mushroom!
You probably don't realize Kurohiro has leveled up his power and can manipulate all sorts of darkness. We'll turn that bird against them. They'd have to attack you using lots of light, so it'll be obvious to us if you're in trouble. The lights will be a beacon pointing us straight to you. Even if Kurohiro fails, we can spring another attack on them.
Yeah, they really thought it through.
Plan A was a bust.
Planned a two-pronged operation that anticipated how we'd respond to Kurohiro.
Yeah.
A wise strategy, Kendo.
Purely
Calm
countered.
down and stay focused.
Whack, thud, boom, boom, bam, crash.
What the Fuck. Is this the manga, dude? What?
Class B, Manga Fukudashi.
He's literally called
Hero
Manga.
name, Comic Man. He makes sound effects and onomatopoeia in comics come to life. He can also add an extra zing to certain words as they splat, bang, zow across the battlefield.
That's nuts.
Pop out! Thud!
That's... It's literally on the nose.
Where did you go?
Based on what he was looking like.
Not even my laser can scratch these word things.
Wow.
Damn. Oh,
Yuck! Did that say damn?
What?
There's fucking everywhere!
So it literally, depending on what he says, affects things in different ways.
my kids are showing their superior strength.
Again with the biased commentary! Yeah, stop!
They're gonna say that every
I
episode.
have no idea where anyone is. Their attacks were leading toward this specific outcome.
Now I just have to defeat you with pride!
Oh, 1v1 then. Whew. She put a dent in that metal.
She crumpled the tungsten shield with one hit.
That's nuts.
Itsuka Kendo. Hero name, Battle Fist. Quirk, Big Fist. Bigger her fist, the bigger the punch it packs.
Oh God.
We can make this an endurance test if you want to! Hirozu!
Yeah, it's going to end up being like a battle of attrition as well, of how much it can use. Depends how much lip it's just got.
Situation where she's got a total advantage. Her plan was right on the money.
I'm not convinced this was the smartest move on her part.
Huh?
Yaoyorozu, you've got a plan, don't you?
She can't think on her feet, she just doesn't have the confidence. Well, she didn't back then anyway.
If they were so worried about Yaoyorozu, then their team should have tried to disrupt her strategy from the very start.
Your grades and quirk are both better than mine, Yaoyorozu.
Kendo, you've got it wrong. The truth is that I'm actually still the inexperienced fool, not you. You humbled yourself and deemed to call me better. So I can't let you see me looking pathetic.
This is what Momo Yaoyorozu excels
Well,
at.
let's find it out.
You can do this.
What you
Think of
making?
everything you've cultivated to this point, and prove to yourself how much you've grown.
A freaking cannon?
Alright, okay. Good
I
or
helped you
reliable.
advance so I could buy time.
When in doubt, get the cannon out. That could be an innuendo, couldn't it? Fucking snatched him back. Look how we called him back. Ah. I was wondering whether or not the shroom's got attached to him. He's connected his words together.
My throat's getting a little hoarse.
God.
The enemy has hidden themselves and are attacking indirectly.
Yeah.
Quite the predicament. It'll be difficult to best if we cannot determine the location of these three opponents. This will be the end.
How are we gonna do it?
We need a plan to pull ourselves together.
Because all of their team, aside from Kendo, is kind of, they do things in the shadows, you know.
Who's she trying to kill with that?
I guess you can keep her at bay. Can't have a big firing, like a fast firing rate, can it?
Is she planning on breaking through the wall?
Right.
Gotta stop her! I'll enlarge my fist at the moment of impact. Double jumbo!
She wasn't aiming at the wall.
What was?
What's she shooting?
Didn't even look like a normal cannonball.
So, in order for us to win,
Is that from Yaoyorozu?
What is it?
Dark Shadow!
Got it!
Nice, quick thinking. Lucky bag.
I managed to catch the guy, Twinkles. He's in jail.
Oh dear. Oi, Arma.
Nice, Kurohiro.
I can't believe I impressed her.
Are not so fun this opponent.
He likes her.
Komari,
Yes, Shroom?
you don't think Class A knows about this place, do you?
Just feels like a proper maze. What?
Goggles.
Oh, what?
Much easier to locate our enemies.
She created some thermal goggles.
Now when I stare into the abyss, the
Oh,
abyss stares
there's back.
me.
God.
Some kind of loot drop?
Yeah, pretty much. It's a supply drop.
God.
Ethanol.
This is a disinfectant spray.
Right, get rid of the shrooms.
I'd say they were designed with you in mind.
That's cool.
Calm down and stay
Very
calm.
nice.
We just need to regroup, okay?
Yaoyorozu, did you have this backup plan in your head the entire time?
So
He's heading straight towards where Komori is. What's he up to?
And I'm the one after you.
I was wondering like how she could determine where the shrooms were, you know, like popping up.
Now we can strike at our discretion.
I mean, it's a 2v1, but
Looks like he's heading straight for us.
with him being disinfected,
Not allow you to escape or hide from the storm you have wrought.
what can Komori do?
According to Hawks, speed can easily win against strength. Black Abyss!
Look how cool he is.
Sabbath!
Whoa! Black Abyss, Sabbath.
Komori, no!
Is it darkness that you're searching for?
Oh god, he's so cool. Oh my god! He's got him trapped!
Borrow my cloak.
Wow.
Dang! He caught 2 enemies!
That's gotta be, that's it! That's gotta be it!
They keep going like this, they can win it 4-1.
Oh, but wait.
Quick, Dark Shadow.
It's not over yet.
Hey, are you alright?
Oh, he doesn't have
I'd be such a bad shroom if I didn't use it when we were.
It's gonna be like some kind of spores or fucking plugging up his fuck!
Is a film commune.
Jesus!
Komori doesn't have a quirk that screams combat, and yet she's scary.
It's like a funny ghost that punches really hard!
I need to hurry up and finish this dude off.
Oh shit, what happened? She captured
Boom! I'm saved!
Yaoyorozu.
I knocked her out, but not before she got me. We were kind of stuck together.
Oh my god.
She could have done me a solid and let the cannon fall off. All of this.
She was still... God,
I think she
looking
could
around the
show that
cannon.
She was looking ahead.
Well, she didn't give
I
up.
don't really feel like I won.
Ah,
Thanks for getting us out.
yeah, I
of
think
this.
1B you
It's
won that
only
one.
natural to save
I
your
thought
teammates,
it would
Shroom.
end up that way, but...
Hey, please don't die.
You really pulled out the big guns, Komori. If I hadn't, we would have lost the round. Kase's tough. They easily could have beaten us. We sure looked out today.
Luck has nothing to do with it. It was all Kendo's plan. All right.
Yeah, I don't think Luck's got... Yeah.
Yaoyorozu, I hope you don't get discouraged by this result.
Our creatie will grow into a top-class leader one day.
With every step, these kids get closer to embodying what they want to be in the future.
We're striving to live up to those we admire.
Heroes.
Second match! Class B has a crushing victory with a score of 4-0. Words can describe
Yeah, 4-0.
Seriously!
It's a total wipeout.
Proud of you!
Okay, episode 6, Foresight, and 1B do get the win. I felt like it had to come, at least in this match, because as I said in the previous episode, that like, you know, there's going to have to be some wins for 1B in order to make it seem like, you know, they are, you know, in some ways just as good as Class 1A. They're supposed to be relatively on equal terms, and just for the fact that they're in 1B and not 1A, it doesn't, you know, it doesn't belittle them in any way. So it's just that kind of thing of there has to be some wins for Class 1B, and I was just looking at the lineup in this and thinking that, yeah, this has to be one that 1B would take. But this is where it comes into, like, where do they get their extra wins? I'll not go too much into it because I did actually talk about this in the last episode and everything like that, but where did the other Class 1B wins come from? Because the matches left, one features Bakugo, one features Todoroki, and one features Deku, you know? So, I mean, I've talked about how I feel like it would be good for Deku to finally get beaten at something, you know what I mean? Because you can't just, like, have him win everything all the time. I mean, you can, but it's not, you know, it's much more enthralling to have the main character be beaten down sometimes, you know? And with, you know, the whole thing with Shinso being on the other team going up against Deku, allows for Shinso to get his sort of revenge, so to speak, against Deku. So there's a lot of reasons why that would happen. And like I said, with Bakugo and Todoroki, I feel like they've kind of had their defeat in, having to, keep doing their exams while, their provisional exams. They've been, put back for that. So I feel like they're due a win. But, we'll see. I mean, this is the thing, is like, with Todoroki, I feel like, because they're the next one, they're the next match coming up. So, I feel like, how will it happen? I really, really don't want Bakugo's team to lose. Because not only does it have Bakugo on it, it also has Jiro on it. So, I really don't want that to be the case. But I guess the one thing that you could say is the reason why Bakugo's match, Class 1A, will lose is possibly down to Bakugo's sort of lack of communication and teamwork. That maybe that will be their undoing. But I don't know. I think this is the thing, with there being 5 matches, one team has to come out on top in some form, like in some way. Whether it's a 4-win loss record or if it's a 3-2, So to me, like, I just feel like I don't know. I don't see Todoroki's team losing because they also have Ida, and Ida's got this new Recipro thing that we haven't sort of elaborated on in the show yet. It was just like a slight mention in the last episode, so there is still that to come. And also I just feel like he's just due a win, and the same thing would be with Bakugo. But that's the thing. That's the only thing I can get with Bakugo's matchup is it going to come down to the fact that lack of teamwork. Other than that, I just feel like it would. There's a lot of things going for the idea that in Deku's match they would lose. Like Deku's due a loss. Monoma's on the other team, so that just the fact that let's say that overall, that's the other thing though, isn't it? I guess because I didn't even think about this, and I didn't even talk about it. Like, how do you have the stakes so that the last match actually means something more? And that would have to, in that regard, then it would have to be a 2-2 going into the final match, wouldn't it? Shit. Oh no, I think Bakugo's team's gonna lose now. No! Don't do this to me. I've just logic has betrayed me. I don't want that to happen. I don't want that to happen. Shit. God, no. I'm kind of hoping that Todoroki's team loses now. Fuck. I'm just thinking about this and just like that. What? Trying to get into the into the mangaka's head, right? About using everything that the show has done so far, and just assuming, based on previous events, how he would write it. But because he's so creative and using quirks and everything and things mixing up between, different characters and whatnot, like, things can still be shocking, even though predictable. Damn it, yeah. I have a bad feeling it's going to be Bakugo that loses now. Yeah, because, even though I didn't think about it before, I am positive now that it's definitely going to happen that way, isn't it? In the next 2 matches, it's going to be a win for Class 1A and a win for Class 1B. In either or matches, so that it's a 2-2 going into the final match, so that the stakes are even at that point, and then it comes down to, put it this way, if Bakugo or Todoroki loses, if their teams lose, then I'm I'm going to go ahead and say that Deku doesn't. I'm going to say that Deku's matchup, that Class 1A wins then. Because... But then, I don't know. I mean, they could pull it, pull it back and really do something that I feel like, if that is the case, they should do. I feel like no matter what in this sort of these matchups, that Deku's matchup should still take the loss. The only thing I would say about that, though, is that then you've got Shinso, who has won both of his matchups. And in terms of like as his character, like being, they're going about this whole route of him being inexperienced and everything, so therefore if you're going over the two matches that he is a part of, winning one and losing one kind of makes like more sense. But then I don't know, I've always got this like sort of idea like in my head of with like shonen that like, they tend to have the main characters winning too much. You get what I mean? Like, sometimes they need to be, like, sort of humbled, I guess. And not always take a victory, Especially, like, in these moments where it's like, the stakes are just between, like, pride in the classes, right? Like, sort of bragging rights. It's not, like, life or death situations that they're doing out in the real world, like what they were doing last season with Overhaul and everything like that, you know what I mean? So if you want to take, if Deku's has to take a loss in this as opposed to out there where shit is serious, then that's obviously, you know what I mean, like sort of, it's sort of an easy loss to take, and you just can't have them winning everything. And this is the other thing as well, because I'm pretty sure Ochako is on Deku's team, right? And going up against Shinso, who now has this new equipment and everything. Deku's already dealt with the, in the provisional exams, he's already dealt with something similar, which was that, what's her name? The fucking schoolgirl in the League of Villains, man. Fuck, what's her name? So many names to keep track of, especially with like Class 1B now, and we're getting like all their names. But you know who I mean, right? The one who can like, change into other people and everything. Deku's already experienced that in the provisional exams in terms of Ochako, right? So I feel like to do that again with like Shinso, like pretending to be Ochako by using her voice, I don't see that happening again. And if it does happen again, then I will, claim it as a bit cheap, right? Because I don't think Deku would fall for that twice. He's smart enough to not do that, right? And also considering the fact that he's already seen it play out, he already knows what to expect going into that match. So something's really going to have to catch them off guard to where, like, they can play around the idea. Like, Deku's team has to really think about things beforehand and play out a plan that is being predetermined, because they're not going to be able to really talk much during the match with Shinso's quirk. So whatever is the case, it's going to have to be something along the lines of, 1B is going to be possibly thinking of something to take away that sort of that predetermined strategy that Class 1A will be thinking about beforehand, so that their plan is all out of whack, and in order to sort of win the match overall, they're going to have to come up with a new plan. And how do they do that without communication? The one thing I was talking about actually last episode in the post discussion was the idea that because Monama's on Shinso's team, that if Monama's able to use the mind controlling quirk, obviously he doesn't have the equipment, but all he has to do is take Shinso's quirk at the beginning of the round, talk to someone, let them answer, and then that's it. And if anything, I would be, if I was on 1B, I would be telling Monoma to take Shinso's quirk at the beginning of the round and immediately find Deku and talk to him. Right? That being said, I don't know if Shinso's going to be possibly talking about the idea that Deku's the only one to have broken out of it. So maybe that is the case. But the thing is, it depends on how their other the other teammates, the other classmates of Class 1B, are, like what their quirks are and how they're going to use those. Because this is the thing, like if you're willing to, let's say that the mind control quirk just doesn't work against Deku. Let's just say that, right? I mean, we don't know. The one time during the sports festival, it might have just been a one-off. But we don't know how it affects how Shinso's quirk it works within there and One for All, and how they clash in some form or fashion. We don't know how it works. So even if he was going to try it again, maybe it doesn't work. But that's not the point. It's about it working for even a temporary amount of time is crucial. And Deku was obviously the biggest threat to 1B in that match. So you would have to. I think the best option would be for Monoma to take Shinso's quirk, get Deku to answer him. And this is the thing, Deku, if knowing Monoma's quirk, might be already thinking about this. So we don't know. Another thing that they probably haven't even thought about either is the idea of not answering anyone based upon Shinso's quirk. But what if it's based upon... Because I think we've talked about this before, about like the directional... Like, how do you tell where, obviously, the vocals are coming from can determine whether or not who's speaking. But what if they've said beforehand, we'll sort of, but almost like theatrical, we'll play it off like Monoma's speaking, but in reality it's Shinso speaking, and he's just lip syncing. You know what I mean? Like something similar to that. But who knows? But yeah, I feel like that they're. If I was on 1B, that would be my plan A, I think. I think Monoma to talk to Deku to get him temporarily out and then sort of rush them. And obviously I can't talk about what else of the plan would work because I don't know what the other characters in 1B, like what they have, So I don't know how their quirks would work in terms of, capturing them quickly. But that's the thing, is like with 1A, you can't write anyone off because they all have their individual, strengths that they can use, against that. Even if they want to waste time until Deku can come out of it, who knows? But yeah, I mean, we've talked about that enough. I mean, that's not until the fucking, that's going to be like 5 episodes away anyway. So that doesn't matter. Anyway, let's get into this episode. So. Shimaji is the name of the mushroom girl. That's a hero name anyway. So the more shrooms, the more human it is, the more shrooms are able to, be created within a certain area, I would say. I mean, the way that, what was his name? Mike? Something Mike. I can't remember what the other word is. Anyway, yeah. So Mike, when obviously he's talking about, he's narrating like what the, what their hero names are, what their quirks are, and everything, how they're used. That he basically just said that she releases spores and can create mushrooms anywhere she wants. But again, like I talked about it in the reaction. I don't know if it'll be in a 10-minute one, but the idea that like there has to be a limit, like a radius, how far away from her she's able to create these things. I mean, the way that it was looking was like she was just planting them throughout the entire fucking area, like the whole arena, and that's kind of crazy. I guess that was a thing that a lot of their team, aside from Kendo, was very much playing like a role of hiding out in the shadows and attacking like from afar, or something that was happening over time to catch them off guard. Kendo was the only one that was really upfront and personal. I think that was the reason why they set out a plan for Manga to cut Yaoyorozu off, to get her in a one-on-one situation, because the fact that she's up close and personal, she had to kind of to be able to handle like an opponent, and with multiple hanging around, you don't know whenever it could become a 2-on-1 or a 3-on-1 situation. So yeah, that was probably the reason why they cut them off there. And also, when you think about it, that's kind of a creative way to use the power, because the way that Manga uses his power, he's called Comic Man, that's his hero name, is that he can make sound effects and onomatopoeia come to life. So onomatopoeia, for maybe foreign people that don't know what that means, onomatopoeia means basically it's a written word to describe a sort of a sound effect. If you think of something being like bam or whoosh, then that's kind of like those words. If you see in comics, in comic books, that's what an onomatopoeia is. So basically, when he's talking about it's like can make sound effects and onomatopoeia, onomatopoeia, roughly the same thing. So the interesting thing about him was that when he actually cut off that area so that Yaoyorozu was on her own, he was using things that would be considered more like I guess. If a hero in a comic was to hit someone, and it's kind of like not really a kapow, but like just using the words that are big enough to create a wall, so using that creatively is really cool. But the most interesting thing about his quirk that the narration was talking about there was that he can add an extra zing to certain words that changes the effect that they have. Which means that, now I would have said like the possibilities are endless if the quote wasn't certain words. Certain words means that it's limited to a certain degree, but that doesn't mean that obviously, over time, learning his quirk more and more effectively, that he would probably be able to do it more and more with other words and everything like that. So everything that basically he describes happens. It's almost, to some degree, it's almost similar to Creati in that, he's creating things out of nothing, seemingly. But what I would say is it's not out of nothing, because the one thing that he was saying at one point was that his throat was getting hoarse because he's using his voice to create these things. So in some way, it is some kind of like sound energy, like something that it's taken its toll on his voice to speak these things. I imagine obviously he has the ability to turn it off and on. Like I don't think if he was to say like, if he found himself in a situation where he said a sound effect but like didn't, I don't know, what would it be? Let's just say for whatever reason, like I don't know, he accidentally slammed the door and he was saying to someone, oh, it went bang. I don't think randomly out of nowhere like something would appear. I think he has the ability to choose when he's saying something. Whether he says it in a different sort of inflection or what that causes it to appear, I don't know. But whatever it is, whenever he says these things, that's kind of taking some toll on his voice. So it's not like he can obviously use it non-stop, which is generally the case with all of the quirks anyway. Bakugo talked about that in season 2 when he was talking about it being like a mana meter. That you've only got like a certain amount, but it has to regenerate at some point, right? But you can't use it non-stop. So yeah, the interesting thing is the fact that he can add an extra thing to certain words. Now I think what that is referring to, at least as an example in the episode, is the damp whoosh thing that he was doing when he was actually using words to create more humidity, which was creating and spawning more mushrooms, because as we heard with Shimaji, that the more humid it is, the more mushrooms that can be created. So using that in tandem, again, the teamwork, I love that's the thing, like when you think about how many fucking characters this show has, the mangaka has to be so, I want to know where he gets all these ideas from, you know what I mean? Because like I guess it's probably similar to like Pokemon, like when they're coming up with like new Pokemon, like, well, how do we what new Pokemon can we possibly do? It's like when they got to like Gen 4 of Pokemon and they started like making things, like making stupid Pokemon, like just a sword or just an ice cream, a trash bag with some eyes on it, like you know what I mean? Like it just got it's gonna get to that point. And I mean, I imagine when he was, I don't know how like early on he thought of he must have thought them relatively early on in the show, because I mean even in season 1 I feel like we saw some Class B, right? I'm trying to remember. I think we did. I don't know if we like really saw them all. I think that was more in like sort of season 2, but like I'm pretty sure I do remember like the seeing the manga dude back then. So you know what I mean. But like to come up with so much, like not only like the different characters and their personalities and the way that, you know what I mean, their personalities, everything like that, but also like their quirks, and then also how they use them and how it affects everything, and then like mixing sort of quirks together from different characters to form some kind of teamwork and like, you know, bond between them and everything is like, it's got to take some fucking mental strain, time, and just like energy, right? Like the amount of characters this show has, it's actually like kind of insane. You know what I mean? So it's just the one thing that you got credit for. I know that the show gets like just a lot of hate in general. A lot of it just comes down to the fact that people don't like things that are popular. So, you know, that's that. But I mean, come on, you gotta, like, even if you're not really a fan, you've got to give credit where credit's due. So it's just insane. So yeah, the damp whoosh thing, that's got to be an example of the extra zing that he can add to certain words. The whoosh was, I imagine that was to send the thing like as a whoosh, like send it through the air in a, you know, specific direction, and the word would just kind of emanate like just this dampness. You know what I mean? But like, even though I was saying before about like the sort of like limitless possibilities that he could possibly do by using certain words and everything like that, even though it might not be limitless now, there's a lot of different things that I feel like he could use in tandem with that. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like he's an amazing support hero. You know what I mean? To use in tandem with almost any. It feels like just because of the way that he can just say words, the fact that he can dampen his words, like how he can use that in tandem with it, it feels like you could somehow relate his quirk and use it with any other of the quirks that we've seen in the show to some degree. You know what I mean? So yeah, I'd just crazy. Yeah, right, so what else? Kendo, we've got her hero name, so she's going by Battle Fist now. And also, the bigger the fist is, the more power and punch it, you know, the impact that it has. That it even went through, you know, basically dented all the metal that, you know, Yaoyorozu was creating. She decided to use that as a sort of just a time delay so that she could get the cannon out. And that was a great use of, you know, like completely unexpected, like what exactly was happening there. Because originally when it first comes out, I'm like, okay, she's using this to kind of keep range, right? Because the thing is with Kendo is that she has to be upfront and personal, kind of in melee. So keeping her at range is a you know, a good, you know, simple but kind of effective. Less so with a cannon because of the fire rate. Like, I mean, a cannon does not have a quick fire rate. If you miss one, she's probably going to be up in your face before you can manage to load it again. So, but that was my first initial thought when she brought the cannon out. Then Kendo said something like, oh my god, she's trying to break through the wall. I was like, oh yeah, of course, I didn't even fucking think about that. That gives her access to possibly the rest of her teammates, and then they can regroup and try again. And that wasn't even the case at all, but it was firing a lucky bag over the top, hoping that one of them would spot it. Tokiyami did, flew up to get it, and it contained thermal goggles and ethanol. And this is the thing, like, with her, that, you know, is very similar to, I mean, we saw some scenes that were flashbacks from season 2 as well, when she was obviously struggling with her confidence and everything like that, that she did have things set beforehand ready. It's just that she didn't have the confidence to kind of utilize or be proactive in using them. She just knew that, you know, at some point, I guess, if the situation calls for it, I can use them. But she was using those kind of flash grenades that were in those Russian dolls, right? Which really came in handy, especially considering the fact that she thought of that beforehand, that she could use against Aizawa, because obviously he needs his eyes in order for his quirk to work. So she obviously, you know, thought about that beforehand, that this kind of like pre-planning beforehand is what she's really kind of strong at. And then, you know, actually going ahead and using these on the fly whenever the situation calls for it is nice. But she's very much sort of like, you know, I feel like that's her strength is pre-planning beforehand for things to happen on situations. So indeed the same thing here with having those things made beforehand with, you know, the ethanol. And this is the thing, is like I feel like they kind of missed out in, at least in the anime. I don't know what it was like in the manga, but the idea that Class 1A knew about the quirks of Class 1B. I know that some of them would know, like, I know that they would know some of them at least because of what had happened in Season 2. And obviously they went to the camp at the beginning of Season 3, which only lasted like 4 episodes or something like that. 5 episodes, something along those lines. It was pretty, you know, but like, that's the thing, is like, to what degree did they know about Class 1B's quirk? And it seems as though they knew about them the whole time. Like, they know about each and every one of them. I guess they just don't know to what degree they can use them, but they know at least enough about them to, like, you know, the idea that Yaoyorozu knew about Komori and her mushrooms, that she would get ethanol to disinfect, and also the thermal goggles, that they must have known about Shihai and the ability to merge into the darkness, so that thermal goggles would actually help in that situation. So yeah, and that was the thing. And at the end, when 1B was pretty much announced the winner, that Yaoyorozu actually used these sort of like kind of they were kind of like rebar almost, right? But seemingly it looked like it was made out of the same material that Aizawa's scarf is made out of, which we already know she tried to make once beforehand in Season 2 against Aizawa himself, because it was wrapped around it was wrapped around her, you know, but it was more like rebar as opposed to like scarf. So, you know, it's interesting that she decided to go with that sort of the way that it looks rather than just using the scarf. I guess it doesn't matter because it's the same material, I imagine so anyway. So there was that, but the fact that, like, you know, she didn't give up to the end, and the fact that she's knocked out but still creating, because you notice that her like creation sort of visual, it was still activated like that whole time when she was knocked out. Now I don't know if that's a case of because she was creating when she was knocked out that it kind of sits in like that kind of like state or not. I don't know, but it's just a case of, like, you know, holding on to the cannon, because like kind of just it's that refusal to kind of just give up, and, you know, it just make it a pain for her to have to drag the whole thing across. I feel like that's what Kendo's always doing, is dragging something. If it's not Monoma, it's a cannon. You know what I mean? But yeah. So Shihai likes Komori. I mean, friggin' hell, like, he has quite a taste, because I mean, God, if we lived in this world, like, could you imagine how weird that would be? Like a mushroom girl. You would have to really like mushrooms and fungus to to like that, you know. But like, yeah, it wouldn't be my choice, I'll tell you that. But yeah, I mean, it's just so like kooky. I don't know if like all of these spores have like affected her brain, and now she's just like, that's the way that she is, you know. But yeah. Yeah, so when it looked like 1A were cleaning up house, it changes to this basically the spores of a certain mushroom. I'm not even going to bother trying to pronounce the mushroom names, because there's so many different types of them and everything like that. But it was the one specific one that was emanating, at least what I assume are spores that were in the air and clogging up Tokuyami's throat. But yeah, like the idea that he actually used his cape to actually entrap Shihai into it, you know what I mean? That was a cool use of it. And with his hands, I guess, tied around it, it's not like, I guess the idea is that because, like, well, this is the thing, like, it depends on if you go into like this whole, into the whole science of it, which I don't really think you can go into too much. But like the idea that, what's his mass supposed to be if he can just inject himself into shadows, you know what I mean? But then I guess you would have to say the same thing about Lemillion and everything like that. Like, some things are just left best unsaid. Like, there is some signs that can be applicable to certain things and everything like that. But the idea of going into the shadows and everything, the one thing that is, you know, kind of palpable there is the idea that once he's in it, he can't come out if something's obscuring around the outside of the darkness. So the fact that obviously Tokiyami was, you know, had his hands surrounding the whole thing, he couldn't get himself back out of it because Tokiyami's hands were keeping him in it. So yeah, that was a cool idea, but yeah, those spores choking him out kind of basically turned the whole tide again, and that was the end of that. So yeah, it was a total wipeout. 4 still remaining on Class 1B and 1A didn't. Yeah, none of them totally survived. They were just pretty much just weren't expecting. I mean, it all came down to that, like, to Shimaji, really, right? Komori. It basically all came down to her, because if that had, I mean, this is the thing, because they would have been caught, right, taken away, and then all Manga was being dealt with by Hagakure, but I guess Kendo did come and save him there, but he would have been quite out of it. I mean, he did suffer quite a few punches, poor guy. But yeah, but then it would have been, well, then I guess it would have been a 2-on-1 situation, wouldn't it? And it would have been Tokiyami versus Kendo and Manga, and that would have been interesting to see what it would have come down to. But regardless, it was just a total wipeout, a total flush. So yeah, that's that. I'm sure Yaoi Rosa will be fine with it. You know what I mean? She's been through this kind of thing before, but I don't think they're going to go down the same story route with her character in that, you know, that kind of regard. You know, so. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty much what I've got. So yeah, I think the next match is Todoroki's team. And it's going to be interesting to see who they go up against and who they fight. But I feel like with Todoroki and Ida, those two team up a lot. I just feel like that is kind of just a solid two, like a solid duo at most. But then who else is on their team? I can't remember. But I feel like they're just, you know, it's going to be too much for Class 1B with them, even though I don't know who they're going up against. But I just feel like that's going to end up being a win. Bakugo's team's going to end up losing, which, fuck's sake. Damn it, why? I don't know. We don't know that yet. We don't know. Who knows? It could be 4 wins for Class 1A and 1 for Class 1B. I just don't think they're going to do that, though. I feel like it's going to be a 2-2 and come down to the final match. So yeah, but we'll just have to wait and see until then. So anyway, yeah, that's all I've got to thank you for watching. In the description below, I have links to certain things. One of them is the Discord, so you can get yourself over there if you wish. And I also have a Patreon page as well, so if you do want to support me on Patreon, that'd be very much appreciated. There is a bunch of different tiers and rewards there, like early access, gives you access to shows a week early. There's the full length, which gives you access to full length reactions to all the shows I do. And then there's the exclusive tier, which gives you access to full length movie reactions. And guess what? Fate... the Fate Heaven's Feel 3rd movie will be out tomorrow or the day after, okay, so look forward to that. But yeah, nothing else to really talk about, so that's all I've got. So thank you for watching. I'll see you all next time. Bye bye.